What do you hate the most about the music industry?
What do I hate the most about the music industry?
I'm sure you have a couple gripes, but what's the one that you...
The honest truth, like, I'm not in that space. I'm not in a space to gripe or complain about anything. Like, I mean, it's not, everything about this industry that I'm a part of is not ideal necessarily, but I'm in a space where I chose not to focus on the things that aren't right or aren't ideal or perfect for me or whatever, and focus on the other side of it. I can't really even wrap my head around what I hate the most because I'm like far too focused on what I like or what I appreciate or what's working, And like that's just for real. Like, I mean, if you asked me that same question at a different time, I might have spilled off into a whole tangent about all sorts of stuff, but it's just not important to me. I don't really hate much of anything. Like, I mean, it's not, if I hate it or if I'm gonna feel that strongly in a negative way, then it may as well not even exist to me in my world. And that's the intro version too. Like, I feel like I'll make somebody else's problems worse before I could help them necessarily. Sometimes just because of the space that I'm in, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just be over here then. Cause if I go over there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if something's, man, that's not right. If I can't fix it, then I need to go and make something else right, kind of thing. And that's where it is. Like, I'm not gonna be a part of a situation I'm gonna resent or nothing like that. Like, that's a waste of energy,
Top 3 things you need in the studio.
Top 3 things I need in the studio. Here recently it's been coffee.
What kind?
Black. For real, that went going back to the Black Sheep Don't Grin album. Cause I have long sessions, and I mean, there's other things that I do in the studio that sometimes tire me out or, might make me drowsy. So a lot of sessions I start off with a cup of coffee or sometimes more than one cup. Just probably no different than someone else starting their work day. I know a lot of people probably stop at Starbucks or just drink coffee and on their way to work, and that's a part of it.
2 more.
2 more would be a patient engineer, and not just patient, but like you gotta be your work load or the way you approach your work has to be as impulsive as the way that I record. Some songs I've written out every word, thought out the ad-libs and everything else before I even get to the studio, before I go in the booth. And sometimes I like a beat and I just walk in the booth. So someone that can deal with that, or enhance that even. Because, money take is a money take and you may not be able to drop it like that again. So, and my voice is all over the place. I lose my voice a lot. I lose my voice like every show, every other show. And for whatever reason, it seems like I am the most inspired or I write the most and the best music when I don't have a voice. Sometimes it even gets recorded. I'll just force out what I can or go at it with the lemon and the hot tea and all of that. But the third thing that I need is I don't want it to be too generic, but I don't say the right beat. I mean, inspiration would have been a roundabout generic answer, but I gotta have the right beat. I mean, haven't recorded too much acapella stuff in the studio, so it's definitely that. And I don't prejudge production. I work with some guys that's got Grammys and shit, but I don't pick beats. I don't buy beats for a namesake. It's all about the sound, the feeling, and what a lot of it's like a old I think Method Man and Redman song. I'm just doing what the beat make me do, and like it's that. I was gonna say this I guess would be a bonus. I like working in small studios, like really quaint spaces, as opposed. I've worked in big A rooms all over, and I'll do that when it's necessary, or it's fine. It's fine by me. But if I have a choice, like both of my like in-house type of studios are in smaller rooms, because it plays into the whole introvert thing, or I'm cool by myself, so I don't need my sessions to be a party kind of thing. When I did Bad Combination with D1, I had half my hood in the studio. It was probably 10, 15 people coming and going. It was busy as hell, and we made like a real rap record on some real life. We just shot a video for that too. And I was able to kind of go somewhere else, even in the midst of all that chaos around us. But the spot I recorded in Vegas is fairly small. The commercial studios that I recorded in Nashville outside of my own spots, the ones I prefer to are small or like home-based studios. And I think it's both because I don't need a lot of space to do what I do, and also because like those home-based studios, it's just like a comfort zone kind of thing. Like I recorded a great deal of my music I recorded myself, and so it's just that would be, I guess, what I don't need. I don't need excess space or extra people or none of that stuff. Like, girls are sometimes cool. It's not like a requirement or nothing. I like smoking weed when I'm in the lab, but, it's not gonna stop nothing if I don't.
What strain?
I'm not into botany like that. I've probably got some preferences from chilling in some different dispensaries. The cookies is pretty. The real Girl Scout cookies is pretty. It doesn't disappoint. You know what I'm saying? Like I like the OGs, and more indicas than sativas, but a lot of times you don't know on the street level when you're not getting them from people that's labeling and stuff. And then like these days, people just put names on weed, like, oh, this is that Southern Smoke, such and such, and it's just what they've named it. So I don't know. A lot of times, purple weed used to be the move, and then like I figured out that there's a pretty simple trick to making your weed purple. Like, so you could, just knowing stuff like that, I don't get into that. It's how it smells, tastes, and smokes, and whatever. But I've been on the West Coast a lot, though, so.
Your botany's getting a little stronger.
Yeah, I guess so. I know more than probably I let on.
Craziest studio story, if you have one.
I can't tell the craziest of the craziest studio stories, but man, I got some crazy ones too. I got some crazy ones, but there's been times like there's just been so much other stuff going on in my studios other than making music, and I can remember I'll save the names to protect the innocent and otherwise. But I've had like other artists like guest at my studio, and I guess I wasn't as considerate or it wasn't in the front of my mind to consider their company, as opposed to everything else, be it the traffic or be it the things that were sitting around. And I've seen it like, other artists kind of taken back, like, man, what's going on here? Like, do we need to be here right now, kind of thing? And like it was in a different time, and I was in a different space. But like I said, I gotta I gotta keep some of them details close to the chest, as they say. It's not that important, the details. It's just that art imitating life, parallel. And I mean, it's like I said, it's been times when the studio was everything but the studio. I guess as it relates to the music, some of my biggest songs or songs that made like bigger impact in my career, even dating back to 2004, were like Beautiful Accidents. The Grey Goose record I had with Young Jeezy and Yo Gotti, we were recording in the storage unit with my guy Fade Eastwood, and it was just some drunk shit. It was really drinking a lot of Grey Goose. One of my partners just say that on some drunk shit all the time. One of the Grey Goose, do I know you? Like, I'm so drunk that I don't know who you are, and we rode together. And it was an inside joke that evolved into a chant of a song, like Lil Jon and East Side Boys had it popping right then. So it was kind of like our drunk attempt at doing that. And then it ends up a club banger that I toured the Mid-South on for a year and a half. And otherwise, Thinking of You was a freestyle. The beat had a sample programmed in. All I do is think of you. And as opposed to making a love song out of it, I went the opposite way on some freestyle shit. And everybody was in the lab was like, keep going, that's it. I'm like, what? I'm just joking. I'm getting a level mic check, like trying to decide if I even like this beat. And I got a studio full of dudes that are like, that's it, to like a girl record almost. And I'm like, whoa, so like I said, keeping the studio story is like centered around the music and not around something sensational that happened or whatever. There was that. What's one more recently? Even Caesar and Brutus, Don Tripp and I. The beat was like so like movie like where do we go with this? And building a storyboard out of a record, which I mean we put the video out. We debuted the song with the video, so it was like very, very like descriptive and otherwise we painted a picture we went back and forth with narrating the story and with the characters within. So it fits for the video, but like being in that session, it was like, bro, we need to tell the story, like dudes cross each other out over a girl, we go back and forth, and from I dropped like the first 8 bars or whatever, and Tripp's like, how's it gonna end? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we're here for. Like that's our job. And we just both just laugh. Like, man, how we're writing a song that's a story record and we don't have the story together. But I mean, that's my most viewed video that I've ever put out. That song pretty much ends the shows. It's still like the biggest thing. So like, you know that it's a lot of times a magic moment. It's something that just happens, and that's the interesting thing. Like I always go in the studio knowing that this could be that one, or never ruling that out. And like I said, never going in there half-hearted. Like I may sound half asleep on my songs, but the wheels are turning, and I'm trying to say something important. I'm trying to say something worth or noteworthy or worthwhile, even on the wordplay end. Like, all right, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more agile with the wit. I'm gonna try to make somebody go look something up, or whatever. Like, it's just, that's the beauty of it. Like, I could go on and on. I could name drop a bunch of people being in sessions and other things, and it's not nearly as important as the things that just, the real miracles, the real like, wow, I didn't think that song would have turned into that. Or, other songs, like songs that I've had a hand in, or with other artists, like maybe you should say this, or maybe you should change that, or and then the songs everywhere in the club kind of thing. Like, oh shit, I remember when we were in, you know, not like a credit thing, like, oh, I wrote that, I helped write that, but just, you know, that's stuff it's not worth it to put it out there, because I know people would take it like, oh, Star said in this interview that he wrote this. It's like, nah, just knowing that I've been a part of so many of those magic moments. Like, like I said, I've got a story, untold parts of my story that are probably book worthy. But to make it the focus would cheapen what I'm doing now moving forward, because I'm trying to make 100 more of those moments, because it is my story. It's what made me who I am. It's what got me here. And I think in another way, it's what makes people believe in what I'm doing and what I'm saying. Is rarely I'm not saying things for no reason.
I know you talked about previously not passing on a record like Fuck 'Em, Yo Gotti's Fuck 'Em, but just holding on to it a little too long and seeing someone else jump on it. What other records have you seen that happen to you with?
Tupac's back, Meek Mill and Rick Ross. Mike Will gave me a beat disc in the studio in Atlanta. And Red Dot and I actually rode back in my Challenger from Atlanta to Nashville listening to the beat CD. And we was just like bouncing around the car, because it was like, out of the 6 beats he gave me, like 4 or 5 of them like came out, like, you know, were on some, you know, Mike Will really like made his push during that time. I had heard of him and met him a time before that, but that was like the Mike Will season began during that time, really. Anyway, one of the beats on that BCD was Boats and Hoes from Step Brothers 1. It was the intro. So it's not as if like I got that beat CD and it went to waste. Like I've definitely picked one and used it. But the track for Tupac's back was definitely my favorite beat out of the beat disc he gave me. And we listened to that one beat for at least an hour and a half, just like rapping and, you know, just fooling around. But we both was like, yeah, that's it. Like that's a hit. But when it came time to try to like write a song to it, I was just like, I just really liked the beat. And it became an afterthought to record to it. And especially like Tripp and I had recorded this dope track to one of the other ones, and I think it was that as much as anything. Like, I wasn't trying to make our entire project have one sound necessarily. So when we found out, when we knew it was a keeper, it was more so making other sounds of songs. And I think I either broke the disc on accident at some point after that or misplaced it. And then I saw like the Meek Mill and Rick Ross and Tupac back, and the first time I was like, wait, that's that beat. Like, and I wasn't like salty about it. I wasn't drove about it. I knew like, damn, I had that beat for like 4 months. And had I been proactive about it, like it very well could have been my beat. I ended up jacking the beat after that, which was kind of crazy how things come full circle. I jacked the beat, shot a music video for it, and it was actually the first music video that I had 1 million views on, was that. So it's crazy how the world works, you know. Yeah, without them putting out that song, that wouldn't have happened like that. I wouldn't have made that song. I liked the song, but that wasn't the record I was gonna make. And so I appreciated how that happened. For instance, I can probably think of, there's a record on Step Brothers 1 that ended up being a Lil Wayne and T-Pain song. It wasn't the same thing. Like we both ended up with songs for the same track. That on Step Brothers 2, we got a Drummer Boy track that ended up on a Gucci Mane project. So it happens, you know. People shop in production, and you know, people work in their areas. I don't ever knock that. I've had like on the underground tip, I've had it happen a few times with lesser known artists or lesser known producers, but trying to think one that I passed on though, cause I mean, Fuck 'Em's a good one. Tupac's Back, like those are dope songs in their own regard. It's just, it's interesting to know, like, all right, it's one of those things, you know, like when you like a beat, you need to do something with it. You need to lock it in, cause somebody else will. When you first asked me, I had another one in mind. I know that Tupac Back was pretty big. One of those other beats ended up being, I think, a Future song, or Future and Lil Wayne song or something like that. So off that same beat disc, like I said. But that's been happening for me forever though, bro. I had some songs like in '05 that were in my album pile that ended up on other people's albums and stuff. So it's, you know, like I said, it happens.
What is the realest shit you ever wrote so far in your whole collection, out of all your records?
I don't want to be partial to it because it's new, but it would be between the TLC record that's on Introversion. Between that, there's a song called Life Story that I released in 2007. I put out a double disc, Starlito's Way 2. I was still going by All-Star then. That was kind of the Starlito transition began during that time. But that project, I recorded a double disc because in my mind, all the great rappers, all the greats, not all, most of the greats, the people that I viewed as great and, you know, looked at reverently almost, especially I was way younger, so it was a different space on the fan level. But everybody had double discs. I mean, Biggie, Tupac, Jay-Z had even released the Blueprint 2 was a double disc. A few other noteworthy ones. And I was like, I need to release a double disc. Now, a side note, like I was at a point in the streets where I easily thought that could have been my last project. I thought I was gonna die or do a whole lot of jail time. It was just the way I was living. I woke up every day not knowing if it was gonna really be my last day. And so with that project, I was kind of like taking it there. I was putting it all out there. Like the intro song was called Life Story. The last song on this too was called Living Will. And it was kind of, you know, it was like a 6-minute song. The track was just like someone beating on a table, like a cafeteria table kind of thing. And I just told my life story from birth up to that point. Because like I said, there was something in my psyche that felt like I was near the end. And so I felt it important to tell my story. And it's very, very vulnerable, you know, when you being that honest on record and just talking about me. Like I said, I'm the expert. And so really taking it there, I was like chilling. Like, wow, nobody could have written this song because it's uniquely my story. And like I said, the perspective of which it came from. Just feeling like you're at the end of days with yourself. That's some heavy stuff, but it paced that project. Like I said, I was young and signed to a major and all of that, and I put out a 30-something song indie album just because, you know, I was living like that, and it was like I need to do this because my story's gonna go untold. You know, I feel like I'm great. And I feel like my story is unique, so I want to put it out there. It's Life Story, TLC, and Black Sheep Don't Grin, the title track of my last album, and the intro, which was You Can't Fail Until You Quit. Because on both of those songs, I talked about things that I never talked about on record, and they're not glamorous. Some of it, you know, revolves around shame or guilt or regret. Like, these are the things that come with the game, that come with street life that don't get explored. The same way I touch on mental health and otherwise, because I know I don't consider myself an intellectual, but I know I'm not rap the tightest. I know I suffer from things, and I got demons that kind of pace or predicate like my actions, reactions, and sometimes lack thereof, and whatever else. So those records was like exploring. You look inside yourself and you self-examine, and then I chose not to ignore it. Like, if I'm like dream psychology and studying nightmares and otherwise would suggest that the things that plague you in your slumber and your sleeping moments are things that are bothering you subconsciously, or things that are somewhere in your brain that are not being brought to the surface. And so, rather than being tormented by these things forever, I decided to use my therapeutic outlet, which is the making music. And I made the You Can't Fail Until You Quit song, and I made the Black Sheep Don't Grin title track from the most personal of places ever. And I still did them in an artistic manner. That's still lyrical. I didn't have to break from my format in order to do it. But all those records, I know you're asking for one, but that was probably 4. I wish I had another one to make a perfect top 5, but those songs, the Black Sheep Don't Grin album, for the most part, that's where it is. It's a memoir. It's really taking from my experiences, and if it brings the flaws to the surface, so be it. And I made an album from there. It's like, it doesn't get much realer than that. Like, that was part of the premise of me doing a mixtape, was to promote my album that I dropped. It just ended up being almost an album's worth of material all its own. But it's the same thing. Like, it wasn't as personal, direct, first person like a memoir, but like that's my lane. That's what my music is, real and not in the stereotypical, like, in what we've been programmed to think is real. But it's real, and that, like, everybody was around the streets is in a worse position than they were when we was in the streets. And so I can't pretend like this is what's up, like this is what's popping, like this is what you should be doing. Like, I'm the exception to the rule. I found something else to do that's providing for a lot of other people too. Like, it's not, we can't champion and celebrate the other stuff. I gotta bring the darkness to light, if you will. I bring the downside of this shit to the surface, because we'll be fooling a whole nother generation of people if they think it's all good, it's all upside. Like, so most of those records that I named, like, touch on the downside, and that makes them the realest. That makes them the realest records. Like, I figured out how to get some money, but that's not the most interesting part of my story.
What are your keys to success?
My keys to success are goal setting and goal achievement. I believe if you set a plan out for yourself, if you got a target to reach or to aim for, that's the only way that you can succeed. Is, like, firing away blindly and just doing things just to do it. Sure, there's a chance that something positive, something good could come of that, but there's nothing like saying, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna try to make this happen, and then that actually coming to fruition. And that's on any level, I wanted to put my mixtape out on Memorial Day. I wanted to put my tape out when I finished my Memorial Day concert. Like, I did that. That was a success. It's not all in what's tangible and measurable. But for me, it's about executing. It's about, at some point, I was like, I want to be I want to conquer the underground. I want to do this way. I want to be true to myself. I want to stick to my guns, play to my strengths, and build it and let everybody gravitate toward it instead of firing away and trying to define my success by somebody else's standards or by what other people are doing. And in that way, like, it's not that I don't see the competition, like I feel like I'm above them or whatever else, but it's just not even on my radar. Like, I mean, people are gonna compare what I'm doing to what other artists are doing, but I'm not, so that's not where my success starts and ends. For me, it's like, I'm true to me. I went and did 20 shows off real music, off of not glamorizing anything, not poisoning anybody, and they're still coming out and they're still like, you know, I'm surviving off of this. This is my livelihood off of my conscience, and you know, I can get. I don't sleep well, but I can get some rest knowing that I'm being true to myself and I'm planning my work and then working my plan. So that's success to me.